Everyone, and welcome into Key Time Sports. This is Key Time coming back with another one to talk about my reactions from the first week of the preseason. There were a lot of rookies that showcased their talents out there on the field for the first time in the preseason. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to look at the rookies that played throughout the preseason over the weekend and just give you a rough estimate of where I see their outlook and ahead for the season. So, the first game we had was the Patriots and the Panthers. Now, Drake May, he only had 3 passes, so we can't really judge him off of just 3 passes. I mean, he was 2 for 3 for 19 yards. But what the Patriots really did in their first preseason game was basically do a quarterback by committee in this first game because Bailey Zappi had 20 snaps. Well, he had 20 passes, was 12 of 20 for 108 yards. Joe Milton III, he got some playing time. As I said earlier, Drake May and Jacoby Brissett, he had playing time, but he didn't complete a pass. So when it comes to the Patriots, good win, 17-3, good win. But when I say the preseason does not make or break any team. That is one thing I want to get straight when it comes to this show. Preseason does not make or break anyone. I can go back a while back. Does anybody remember 2008, the Detroit Lions? I know that they had the regular season, they went 0-16, but in the preseason, everybody was building hype off of them like, man, this team might go somewhere. And they won every preseason game by at least 12 points or more. And when they got to the regular season, they couldn't even buy a game. So, preseason does not make you or break you. Preseason is development for your backups. For those second, third, and fourth stringers, that is where preseason comes in at. So as far as what I saw from the Patriots, I don't take too much away from the first preseason game. So that's why I am just giving you a rough estimation about what I've seen from the rookies. Now, the next game I'm going to talk about as far as rookies concerned is the Detroit Lions and the New York Giants. Now, Hendon Hooker, he had a good game. On the running end of it and the passing end of it, Hendon Hooker he was 5 of 9, 36 yards. Hendon Hooker, he ran the ball 4 times and got 34 yards. So, what I see that the Detroit Lions can do with him this season is create some trick plays for him and have him like a small package of plays. And then when you need a trick play or a gadget play, you bring in Hendon Hooker. So that's what I see him for right now because we know that Jared Goff, he has the top-notch quarterback position over there. I mean, they paid him $265 million. So Jared Goff is going to be the first quarterback at the top of the list. Hendon Hooker, Nate Suttonfield, it might be a battle for 2 or 3 there. So, and when it comes to the Giants, I mean, we saw the Giants, they had some flashes here and there, but just like I said, when it comes to every preseason game, you can't take too much away from it. It's just a time to get acquainted with the playbook, learn some plays, and get out of the preseason with no injuries. And that is what I've seen throughout the weekend. Actually, I even saw the Falcons and Dolphins game. Now, Michael Penix, that guy That guy has a rocket of an arm. So whenever Kirk Cousins hangs it up, Atlanta, they are going to be in good hands, because when I looked at his stats, and he was 9 of 16 for 104 yards, and also he throws the ball with such precision, and he throws it with authority. And plus, when he throws the ball, he doesn't stare down his target like you see most rookie quarterbacks do. He doesn't be behind center and just looking at one guy over here or one guy over there. No, he's looking at the collection of guys that are on the field. And so, even though he had only 16 attempts, when he completed those passes, they looked great. Also, when it comes to Miami, Skylar Thompson, Mike White, Skylar Thompson, he has been on the Dolphins team for the last 2 years. He was the third string last year. Mike White, he needs some improvement. Only 4 of 14, 26 yards, but it's the preseason. So, first game of the preseason. So, what should you expect? So, and what I'm going to do is the next game I'm going to talk about is the Houston Texans and Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, CJ Stroud played in the first quarter, 2 of 4, 41 yards, and that was the end of his night. Davis Mills had a pretty good night. He was 8 of 13, 89 yards, and he had an efficient night. So, and plus the Houston Texans running game, it had a good night too. They had 80 yards rushing, but when it comes to the first preseason game, you're shuffling players in and out, trying to see what you have and what can you put on tape. As far as for the Pittsburgh Steelers, when it comes to Kyle Allen and Justin Fields, Kyle Allen had a good night. He had a touchdown pass and an interception. Justin Fields, 5 of 6, 67 yards. He had a very efficient night too. So, all in all, there's a lot of things that you can take away from preseason, from the first week of the preseason. But I just chop it up. Hey, this is just a practice game. Let's just see if the offenses can get better. Let's just see if the offenses can get better. Now, the next game I want to talk about is the Eagles and Baltimore Ravens. Now, when it comes to the quarterbacks for the Eagles in this game, both of them had an okay night. Kenny Pickett, 14 of 22, 89 yards, and one interception. Not one interception, but one touchdown and 0 interceptions. And Tanner McKee, 6 of 16, 39 yards. So, Tanner McKee, there's always room for improvement after the first game of the preseason. So, and plus, when it comes to the Baltimore Ravens, Josh Johnson, 4 of 12, 62 yards. Devin Leary, 6 of 10, 37 yards. Emory Jones, he was out there, but he didn't attempt to pass. So, for the Baltimore Ravens at the quarterback position, as far as second, third string, and fourth string, they have some decision making to do with these three guys. Whether they are going to release a guy or pick up another quarterback out of free agency, who knows? But all in all, this was a good game. Both of them showed flashes, and both of them really, their second string for the Eagles, they did pretty good. They did pretty well. So, the next game I want to talk about is the Washington Commanders and the New York Jets. this was the showcase for Jaden Daniels. Now, Jaden Daniels, he didn't even play that much. He only played the first series, and he had a very efficient first series. He was 2 of 3 for 45 yards, and he ran a touchdown in from 15 yards out. Now, I am going to go down the Washington quarterbacks that played in this game. Jeff Driscoll, 7 of 15, 87 yards. Sam Hartman, 8 of 15, 83 yards. Jaden Daniels, 2 of 3, 45 yards. And Marcus Mariota, 1 for 1 for 6 yards. So, everybody on the Washington Commanders, as far as not coaching, but quarterbacks, they were efficient. But we already know that Jaden Daniels is going to be the starter coming out opening day. So it's about what can the Commanders do when it comes to, let's just say, God forbid, if Jaden Daniels gets hurt later on in the season, can these guys that are backups, can they step up to the plate and deliver? And that's the exact same thing that I am going to go into with the New York Jets. You have Adrian Martinez, 6 of 10, 104 yards. Andrew Presley, 8 of 11, 73 yards. And then you have Tyrod Taylor, which he has been an NFL journeyman at quarterback, 1 for 2 for -1 yard. So the Jets, this is going to be the backup quarterback position may be a detriment to the Jets, because we all know if Aaron Rodgers ain't there, the New York Jets probably are not going to be able to make the playoffs. So hopefully the Jets offensive line can keep it up. The offensive line, they showed flashes on Saturday, but when it comes to the regular season, they are going to have to keep Aaron Rodgers upright. You cannot let him get hit and get sacked like you had all those quarterbacks did last year. The Jets, they gave up the third most sacks last year at 58. The only two other teams that gave up more sacks was the Washington Commanders and Carolina Panthers. So that's all I'm going to say about that game. The next game I want to talk about is the Chicago Bears and Buffalo Bills. Now, this, all in all, this is why I don't bring too much into preseason, because the Bears, they totally dominated the Bills from start to finish. Now, Caleb Williams, he had a very, very efficient game. He was 4 of 7 for 95 yards, and most of the drive, it was him passing the ball, but the last few yards when they got down to the red zone, the running back ran it in. Not DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift, he did not play this game. Excuse me, he did play this game. He only had one carry for 3 yards, and then after that, they took the starters out. So, when it comes to the quarterbacks for the Chicago Bears, I'm gonna give you the rundown of their quarterback list. Caleb Williams, Austin Reed, Tyson Badgett, Brett Rippon, and I'm gonna give you their stats. Caleb Williams, 4 of 7, 95 yards. Austin Reed, 2 of 4, 50 yards. Tyson Badgett, 5 of 8, 47 yards. Brett Rippon, 1 of 2 for 10 yards. Now, we all know that Caleb Williams is the starting quarterback opening day. Who is going to be at that backup quarterback position? Now, if I was the Chicago Bears, I would put Tyson Badgett as your second string quarterback, because you got film on him from last year, and plus the last 7 games of last season, the Chicago Bears, they really were trying to make a push for the playoffs. And I have predicted them as my dark horse team to make the playoffs, because the Chicago Bears, they are going to be a tough outing for anybody in the NFL this season. They were a tough outing for the Bills on Saturday. Now, as far as the Bills concerned, when it comes to their quarterback play Saturday, you got Mitchell Trubisky, another NFL quarterback journeyman, 10 of 18, 82 yards. Then you have Shane Betchel, 6 of 10 for 53 yards. And you have Josh Allen, who played on that first drive of the game, and he was 2 of 3 for 22 yards. We already know that Josh Allen, starting quarterback, he is going to be there. He is going to be there until his contract run out. But who can become that second string guy? Can it be Mitchell Trubisky? Mitchell Trubisky, he has done pretty well in his stops. He was with Chicago 6 years ago. Then he was with the Pittsburgh Steelers last season. So this guy, he has some experience. Shane Betchel, he is a guy that really hasn't had any football playing time in the NFL wherever he has went. And now, since he's on this team, he is going to need some valuable playing time throughout this preseason in order for the Bills to keep him, or will the Bills let him go in free agency? So that is all I have for the Bills. The next game I want to talk about is the Raiders and Vikings. Now when it comes to the Minnesota Vikings, JJ McCarthy, he is a good quarterback. Last season, when he was at Michigan, I didn't have much confidence in him as far as throwing. As far as he had a dominant running game at Michigan. He did. Michigan won most of those games last year off of their running game. And then it wasn't until the Rose Bowl and he played versus the Alabama Crimson Tide that I started to gain respect for him, because before the Alabama game, I was saying, JJ McCarthy, he's just the average quarterback. He has a good running game, and he just has to throw a few passes here and there, and he'll win the game. But in the Rose Bowl versus Alabama, there were some plays where he just took the team on his back. He was about to pass the ball and then just took off and ran. So, but all in all, to get back on the topic, J.J. McCarthy, 11 of 17 passing, 188 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. This was great for his first preseason outing in the NFL. Now, Jaron Hall, who was the second guy, 7 of 16, 63 yards. And then you have Sam Darnold, 4 of 8, 59 yards. Now the Minnesota Vikings, they have a huge decision to make on who is going to be the starting quarterback for the start of the regular season. If I'm putting my money on it, I would say J.J. McCarthy, because Sam Darnold, he is a little iffy at times. He really is. So that's all I got for the Vikings. Now, as far as the Raiders, Gardner Minshew, another quarterback, NFL journeyman, 6 of 12, 117 yards and a touchdown pass. So that's good. Aiden O'Connell, a lot of people project him to be the starter for the first game of the regular season for the Las Vegas Raiders. He was 7 of 9, 76 yards. He had an efficient game. And Anthony Brown Jr., a new guy that just came out of college, he was 1 of 3 for 24 yards. So everybody had an efficient game, but both of these two teams are in the same boat when it comes to quarterback decision making. Who is going to be the quarterback for the Raiders and the Vikings when it comes to week 1? Most things are pointing to Aiden O'Connell being the starting quarterback for week 1. And I would say, for if you're the Minnesota Vikings, put J.J. McCarthy out there. I mean, Justin Jefferson, he likes J.J. McCarthy. And also, the Vikings, they have a new wide receiver in Tristan Jackson. Tristan Jackson, he had a wonderful game. He had four catches and 100 yards and a touchdown with it. So you have two dynamic wide receivers if you are the Minnesota Vikings. You have Justin Jefferson on one side, then you have Tristan Jackson on another side. Pair them up with J.J. McCarthy, and the Vikings could win a few more games than everybody is projecting them to win. So that's all I have for the Raiders and Minnesota Vikings game. Now, the next game I want to talk about is the Green Bay Packers and the Cleveland Browns. Now, as far as I'm going to start off with the Cleveland Browns, and as far as their quarterbacks, DTR, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, he had an efficient night. Every preseason Dorian Thompson-Robinson that I've seen him, he's always had efficient games. He was 14 of 18, 134 yards. Very efficient. Tyler Huntley, 6 of 9, 41 yards. Very efficient. Jameis Winston, another NFL QB journeyman. He was 4 of 5 for 30 yards. So now, we all know who is going to be at the start, who is the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. Deshaun Watson. And again, that contract that Deshaun Watson has, it is fully guaranteed. So he's just, over the last year and a half, he's just been making money without having to play. I would like to do that too. If I get my contract fully guaranteed, I'm going to sit out a couple games. I really am. I'm going to sit out a couple games. So Cleveland Browns, they have a decision to make who is going to be their backup and how much confidence they have in that backup, because Jameis Winston, he is a good quarterback. He just needs to tone it down on those interceptions. And plus, Tyler Huntley, he was with the Ravens, so they have a little bit of film on him. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, the Browns have film on him from last preseason. So the Browns, they are in good shape. And hopefully they will make the right decision on who will be their backup quarterback. Now, as far as for the Green Bay Packers, Jordan Love, we already know he's the starter. Now, it's just about those other two guys. Sean Clifford, 10 of 19, 111 yards, had a very efficient game. Michael Pratt, 5 of 7, 46 yards, had a very efficient game. Now, those two guys are fighting for the backup spot to Jordan Love. Now, Jordan Love, he had an efficient game. He was 2 of 2, 63 yards and a passing touchdown. So when it comes to the Packers and when it comes to the Browns, they don't have to go outside the building to find their backup quarterback. Their backup quarterback is already in-house. Now, we just have to wait and see when it comes to cut down day. We just need to see who is going to be the backups for the Browns and the Packers. Now, the next game I want to talk about is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Cincinnati Bengals. Both of these teams have quarterbacks that have been in the building for the last couple of years. And plus, I think that they don't have to go out and look for another. Both of these teams are in the same boat. They don't have to go out and look for a backup quarterback or a third string quarterback because they already have them on their roster. Now, I'm going to give you both quarterbacks. Well, all the quarterback play for both teams. Kyle Trask, 12 of 20, 144 yards. He had an interception. But all in all, he had an efficient night. Only thing he's got to do is just protect the ball. John Wolford, he was 12 of 18 for 131 yards. He had a very efficient night. As far as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, when it comes to their offensive coordinator, leaving them and being the head coach of the Carolina Panthers in Dave Canales, is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense going to take a step back this season? Well, it remains to be seen. But all in all, everybody had a decent game for the Buccaneers. I mean, if you're a Buccaneers fan, it's almost like you're playing with house money because you don't know what you're going to see from the Carolina Panthers. The Atlanta Falcons, you already know that they have Kirk Cousins. For the New Orleans Saints, you already know that they have Derek Carr at the helm. So you don't know. And is the NFC South the worst division in football now? I believe so. Anybody, and I do mean anybody, this season can come out of the NFC South because it's just that bad. It's just that bad. Now, moving on to the Cincinnati Bengals. Their quarterback play. We already know Joe Burrow, he doesn't need much preseason time. I mean, he had an efficient game, 5 of 7, 51 yards. Jake Browning, he's the backup quarterback no matter what because the Bengals have film on him from last year. He came through in a lot of those games last year when they needed him to play. He had an efficient night, 10 of 18, 52 yards. And the third quarterback, Logan Woodside, 8 of 12, 149 yards, and a touchdown pass. Now, the Bengals and the Buccaneers quarterback play, there is nothing to wonder when it comes to quarterback play. When it comes to who you think is going to be the backup and the third string, everything that the Bengals and Buccaneers have is already right there in-house. They are just waiting for the regular season to commence. Now, the next game I want to talk about. The next 4 games I want to talk about before I get out of here are the 49ers, Titans, Chiefs, Jaguars, Seahawks, Chargers, Saints, and Cardinals, all in that order. And I am going to start now with the 49ers and Titans. I'm just strictly looking at quarterback play here. For all of you who are new to the channel, please like, comment, share, subscribe. So, 49ers and Titans, two run-of-the-mill teams that believe in running the ball. But when it comes to quarterback play, Joshua Dobbs, another NFL quarterback journeyman, he had an efficient night. He was 14 of 20, 146 yards. He did have an interception, so he needs to protect the ball more. And Brandon Allen for the 49ers, 7 of 13, 98 yards. Everybody was efficient. The quarterbacks were efficient for the 49ers. Also, when it comes to the 49ers, I don't believe that they are going to have a significant drop. I believe that they are still one of the top-notch teams in the NFC when it comes to getting back to the NFC Championship game or the Super Bowl. All of that remains to be seen. Now, I'm going to move on to the Tennessee Titans when it comes to their quarterback play. When it comes to their quarterback play, we don't know who is going to start opening day. So Mason Rudolph, 10 of 17, 126 yards, no touchdowns, no INTs, very, very efficient game. Malik Willis, 5 of 7, 38 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interception. He's mainly been an up and down quarterback. And then you have Will Levis, 4 of 5, 35 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. If I'm Tennessee, I start Will Levis because he played some games last year and he made you think that if we put this guy in there full-time starter, what could our season be like? If I was the Tennessee Titans, I would put Will Levis as the week 1 starter for opening day versus the Chicago Bears. But that's just me. So the next game I want to talk about is the Kansas City Chiefs and Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, quarterback play for the Kansas City Chiefs, we already know Patrick Mahomes was good. I was at that game, so I saw it up close and personal. So Patrick Mahomes was good. He had an efficient night, 3 of 4, 27 yards, 0 TDs, 0 interceptions, had an efficient night, and he got out of there. Also, the other quarterbacks that were playing for the Kansas City Chiefs, Chris Okun, 7 of 10, 85 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Ian Book, he was 8 for 9, 46 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. I said earlier, Patrick Mahomes was 3 of 4, 27 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Carson Wentz, 4 of 4, 26 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. So, who is going to be the backup quarterback in Kansas City? All things are pointing to Carson Wentz being the backup quarterback, but there's a lot of time between now and week 1. It may change from the next preseason game to the end of the preseason. It may change. And when it comes to the Jaguars, we know that we already know Trevor Lawrence is a starter no matter what. When it comes to the backup quarterback position and the third string position, when you look at Mac Jones, he had a decent night, 9 of 11, 98 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He did have a sack, but hey, that comes with the territory. CJ Beathard, he had a efficient night, 7 of 14, 125 yards, and 1 touchdown pass. So, when I look at the Jaguars quarterback room, you have Trevor Lawrence at 1. I believe you have CJ Beathard at 2. And then you have Mac Jones at 3. That is the projected Jaguars quarterback room going into the regular season that I think that we all will see. We all will see that. The next game I want to talk about is the Seattle Seahawks and Los Angeles Chargers quarterback play. When it comes to the Seattle Seahawks, we don't have to wonder who is going to be the opening day starter. Geno Smith will be the opening day starter. Now, when it comes to quarterback play When it came to this game, Sam Howell, 16 of 27, 130 yards, 1 touchdown pass, 0 interceptions. P.J. Walker, 4 of 10, 61 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He got sacked for a 9-yard loss. And that's the Seattle quarterback production from this game. Now for the not San Diego Chargers, Los Angeles Chargers quarterback play. Luis Perez, 5 of 12, 61 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Max Duggan, 4 of 7, 41 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. And the last quarterback they had play, Easton Stick, 5 of 13, 31 yards, and 1 interception. He has to take care of the ball more. But when you look at both of these teams, they're almost a spitting image of each other. Both teams have a new coach, have a sense of new energy, and have a sense of new energy in the organization. Mr. Khaki Pants himself is back in football, Jim Harbaugh. And you also have the Seattle Seahawks coach who came from the Tennessee Titans coaching staff last season. So both of these teams this year, they are going to surprise some people. I believe that the Seattle Seahawks will win 2-3 more games than projected. So the next game I want to talk about is the New Orleans Saints and Arizona Cardinals. Now, the Arizona Cardinals are projected to be one of the worst teams in the NFL again this season. The Saints, like I said, middle of the pack. They play in the worst division in football, so they still might be able to make the playoffs. Now I'm going to go to quarterback play. I'm talking for the Saints. Jake Haener, 9 of 13, 107 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Spencer Rattler, or as I like to call him, Spencer the Rattlesnake Rattler, 9 of 17, 70 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Derek Carr, 2 of 6, 12 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Everybody had an efficient game for the New Orleans Saints. Do the New Orleans Saints make the playoffs this year? It remains to be seen. Plus, how is their defense going to be? Because last year their defense was horrible. Now to the Arizona Cardinals. They only had 2 quarterbacks play. Clayton Tune, 15 of 24, 163 yards, 1 touchdown pass, and 0 interceptions. He got sacked twice. Desmond Ridder, another one, 4 of 9, 43 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He got sacked twice. So the Arizona Cardinals, this is going to be another rebuilding year for them. It really is, because the Cardinals, nobody knows what they are going to do with Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray, he is projected to start week 1. Now, is he going to be able to finish out the entirety of this season? It remains to be seen. But as of right now, you got the Saints, who are at best will be a wild card team if they make the playoffs. And then you have the Cardinals fighting for draft positioning when it comes to the NFL draft in April. So, next game I want to talk about is the last 2 games I want to talk about before I get out of here is the Denver Broncos and the Indianapolis Colts. Now, this was a very entertaining game for it to be preseason. Now, when it comes to quarterback play for the Broncos, Sean Payton hasn't named a week 1 starter yet, but I see where most of the quarterbacks were efficient for the Broncos yesterday. Bo Nix, 15 of 21, 125 yards, 1 touchdown pass, and 0 interceptions. Zach Wilson, 10 of 13, 117 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Jarrett Stidham, 4 of 7, 37 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's got to protect the ball more. But it's coming up on decision time for Sean Payton to make his decision on a day 1 starter, on a week 1 starter. Now, he said that he is not going to make his decision until the end of the preseason. So at the end of this month, we will know who will be the opening day starter when it comes to the Denver Broncos. Now, as far as for the Indianapolis Colts, we already know who is going to start, and he had an efficient, in the time that he played, he had an efficient game. Anthony Richardson, 2 of 14, 2 of 4, 25 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. So, and plus Joe Flacco, 3 of 5, 28 yards, 0 touchdowns. Keaton Sloves, 3 of 5, 39 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Jason Bean, 4 of 6, 51 yards, 1 touchdown, and 0 interceptions. Sam Ehlinger, 5 of 6, 80 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. He has to take care of the ball. He has to protect the ball more and be more careful when it comes to throwing the ball in Sam Ehlinger. So these two teams, one of them, you already know who's the starting quarterback with the Colts when it comes to Anthony Richardson. And when it comes to the Denver Broncos, they are a mystery book right now. Bo Nix, he had a great game yesterday. But is Sean Payton going to start him week 1? It all remains to be seen. It really does. But all in all, that was a very entertaining game yesterday. The last game I want to talk about before I get out of here is the Dallas Cowboys and LA Rams. Now, as far as quarterback play, for the Cowboys, Trey Lance, 25 of 41, 188 yards. He had an efficient day, but there was quite a few passes where he missed wide open targets. So Trey Lance, throughout the game, he was very inconsistent. Cooper Rush, 2 of 3, 44 yards, very efficient. He had a play where he rolled out and gained 20 yards, so that was nice to put that on tape. And then you have for the Los Angeles Rams, Stetson Bennett, who was 24 of 38, 224 yards, 1 touchdown, 4 interceptions, and got sacked twice. Now, he has got to take better care of the football, because who knows, God forbid, if Matthew Stafford gets hurt and they have to lean on Stetson Bennett, you don't want to have a quarterback who has thrown 4 interceptions in a preseason game. You don't want to have to depend on him later on in the season in order to get into the playoffs. Now, like I've been saying throughout the entirety of the show, preseason doesn't make or break you record wise, but it does give the head coaches and the entire coaching staff thoughts about, can we really start this guy? Is he able? Are we going to be able to depend on him if A, B, C, and D happen? If my A, B, C, and D players get hurt, can my backup players E, F, G, H, I, can they come in and deliver? So who knows? But all in all, it was a great first week of the preseason. And with that, those are my takeaways and reactions from preseason week 1. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. Click the notification bell to get notified of all of my reaction videos, shows, and content. And also follow my other sports show, Key City Sports, on TikTok. And remember one last thing, the key is always on time.